you always have to go into the county system.
Greetings and welcome to the monthly meeting of the Cook County Housing and Redevelopment Authority, May 21st, 2025. At first, I note the presence of a quorum, Commissioners Olson, Hanson, and Gabler. I also note the presence of our county commissioners, Gamble and Sullivan, and we give them thanks for their support and helpful input as advisors here. And also Heidi Krampitz, Executive Director of the EDA, is with us, and we appreciate our joint work together. First of all, approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I move to approve.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Approval of the April 16th meeting minutes. Any motion available for that?
I move to approve.
I'll second that as well.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We have an opportunity for public comment. If there's anyone who would like to step up to the mic, this is your chance for not immortality, but at least notice and attention. But I don't see any, so we'll pass on to new business. Executive Director Jeff Brand, if you'd take us through the resolutions there, please.
Yeah, Commissioners, we have before us resolution number 25-05. That's our fifth resolution for this year. This is for your approval to work with Jane Penner and Nana Push LLC and Kim Wolf over at Timberwolf Realty to get an IRRR application in for the North Skogan project. And so you did this last year. This looks pretty familiar. We just updated the dates. It's the cleanest way to do it. We've got some new board members, and also it's just a matter of I'm new. And so we just wanted to get this resolution before you. Kim has asked for some information from the last one. I want to make sure that you guys approve that so we can do that, so we can work collaboratively to get this thing prepped and ready to go. July is usually around the time that IRRR will actually be asking for this next round of proposals for housing projects in the TAA, the Taconite Authority, and Cook County just happens to be within that, and we could use some extra money for some of these projects. And so that's the background and information on that.
And this would require $100,000 from us as a matching to the $400,000 from the IRRR if granted?
Yes, that's correct. No, when we had the ARPA money, we earmarked $100,000 last year for that project specifically for the match, and that money is still in the account. It hasn't been touched, and it is ready to go if and when we get this approval from the IRRR this year.
Was it our request for 400,000 last year?
Yep, up to 400,000.
Oh, okay. I had 300 in my mind for some reason, but
Yeah.
that's just me.
And of course, things have changed a little bit from the price-wise. She worked with some of her contractors to get the updated bid, and it still was within the 400,000.
And that is for utilities, correct?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay.
And we're squared away on the prevailing wage issue?
Yeah, and so the IRRR has articulated to all of the projects that have been funded and also the ones that are inquiring about this round that prevailing wage is essential for all aspects of the project, the same as the Heights project here in town, if they choose to take that money from the IRRR.
I'll move approval of the resolution, which I've already forgotten the number of.
2505.
2505, resolution 2505.
And I'll second.
All right.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
All right, we've got some work to do. Good.
Are you expecting others to join this parade of grant requests?
For the IRRR? Well, we expect one more. and that is understanding that the council approves a certain project in the hopper.
Gotcha.
Yep. We have to be kind of careful with that because, of course, with our matching funds, we don't want to get above or beyond our skis here. We have a budget, just like everybody else. We have to adhere to that, and so.
The reasons I was asking.
Yes, yep, absolutely. So there'll most likely be one more, and again, that's contingent on council action in the future.
Okay. 2506, resolution.
Yeah. So this one is a little different. This one is for the Heights project that's actually, I was just there this morning at 6:45 this morning, and people were just going on site to start their workday. Took a picture to upload to our Instagram account to show some progress. It kind of looks like a very, very shallow swimming pool right now. But
Did you talk to them? Are they having to do much blasting there?
they will eventually, yeah.
Okay.
But right now, they've been working on the grading
Yeah.
and getting the trees removed, and boy, it looks like a blank slate right there right now, with a little bit of water hanging out at the water table there. But so this one is for a request, and you'll see in the packet, I sent you the letter that I received from Gary Latz, representing the CCREF. To request some additional funding. We already have a contract in place for the 80% AMI funding, but this is for some 60% AMI funding. And so typically in the past, when we have a request like this, we've been using the sustainable housing aid that comes from the state of Minnesota. When I was in the legislature in 2023, the tax committee specifically created a carve-out for aid for counties and cities to deal with housing and making housing more affordable. And it was really up to the counties and cities to decide how. In your packet is a couple of pages on requirements or recommendations for expenditures of that money. In the past, we provided that $85,000 or so to Gunflint View to provide 60% AMI market against the market rate for apartments. All of them are spoken for. They're probably all filled up right now with actual tenants that are live and ready to start their careers here in Cook County. And the request from the folks in the Heights is that we also provide an additional amount of money for the next 2 years or so as part of their plan to provide some 60% AMI funding for rentals in the September/October timeframe of this year. And so we have a little bit of time. Unfortunately, though, in the legislature in 2023 is not the legislature in 2025, and incrementally it's gotten to be a reduced amount. The certified 2025 amount was akin to about $35,000, which is about a $50,000 reduction. And so we informed Gunflint View of that, and we have that money for the 60% AMI, but we really don't have the extra $50,000 that the state was giving us in 2023 to solve our sustainable housing issues with affordability any more than we have the $35,000. And so this would be a request from the folks at the Heights to provide some of that money for from additional 60% AMI. They're looking for 9 units of affordable housing there. And then they have a plan for the future that once those are filled, that we could see a phase 2 of specific 60% AMI rents at a phase 2 apartment complex in that same neighborhood. With some additional ideas for what to provide for the community on the basement or the first floor, with some childcare opportunities perhaps or something else. Just envisioning the future. So what the request is for up to $36,000 and change. Actually, $40,000 I think is what we rounded it up to for the next 2 years, if we have the money to be able to do that for the folks there. So that's the request. And if you have any additional questions, I'm happy to answer them.
The purpose of moving along, I'll move the resolution 2506.
Okay.
Is there a second?
Yes, second.
You guys gonna keep yourselves busy.
Yeah.
Any
Turns.
discussion or further questions?
No, I mean, I just say this is what it's all about. I would disclose that I'm a limited partner in the Cook County Real Estate Fund that is backing this project, so I don't think that requires me to recuse. I'm not, theoretically, I could make some money personally from it, but I've publicly pledged to donate that money back to the HRA if I make any profit on it, so.
Okay.
But I should disclose. And he's not here, but Commissioner O'Brien is also a limited partner.
Thanks for the disclosure.
Yeah,
It's
I'll be
important.
amazed if I get a profit of it, but could happen.
And actually, perhaps it'd be best if you didn't vote. And
Sure.
Commissioner Olson and I are majority voting on the
Okay.
issue, and
Okay.
that would be able to
Happy
carry
to
it, is
recuse,
my
yeah.
understanding of Robert's rules
Okay.
and good practice, I think. Well, I'd just point out, clearly, this is what our mission is to encourage housing in Cook County and as affordable as we can get it, which always means some dollars from somewhere, and we've been grateful to the state for providing some of these dollars, and the county board for some, and other sources, including Cascade Vacation Rental, that might have an opportunity here to participate as well, but we'll be checking that out. But the resolution does say, assuming we have the money, we'll contribute it, and I really think that's doing what we need to do.
Well, and we, just for a safe peace of mind, we do have $250,000 in a loan from One Roof when they close. They look to be closing sometime in late July, early August, and so that gives us enough time to consider that that could be part of where we get that money for this year and next year perhaps. So there's a couple of things happening in our funds, which is nice. We do have that, we do have access.
Well, I would ask Commissioner Olson to make the motion, and I'll second it.
I so
I'll
moved.
withdraw my motion.
There you go. I'll second that motion. Any further discussion? Hearing none, call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No opposed. That motion carries.
All right.
Next item, Temperance Trail developer discussion. We were made aware recently of some citizen concerns about Peter Grubish and Greenville Construction, very specific email that covered some of those aspects. We take these concerns extremely seriously and asked Peter for a response, which he's provided. The Finance Committee, which is Commissioner O'Brien and me, met with, as well as Jeff, and as well as Chris Verda, our attorney, met virtually with Mr. Grubish and his team last Friday, and we will continue. We have other things we want to continue to do some due diligence on, and we will continue that process. Right now, there's some important deadlines coming up on that project that we'll be monitoring the fulfillment of, because this is really an important project. It's outside of the city of Grand Marais. It's our first project that's out somewhere else, and so it's important from that aspect. Our commitment here is to be active, produce action, be transparent, and to be just basically cover a whole range of topics of housing. I think that process is going to continue. It did point out to us, while the developer was vetted the first time around, that it really was an informal vetting process, and that we've discussed that we probably would be well advised to have a more formal process, and which in my view would cover not only the initial vetting, but then some kind of an ongoing monitoring once someone's been selected for developing with us. That will keep the ball moving. There aren't any final decisions here, and but that we are really committed to seeing this through and taking it seriously. And so at this stage, our focus is on the contract that we have. We still own the land. We are not going to give up the land until we're convinced that the progress has been made that we require. Primary progress that's underway is they've got to make a submission to the county for plat approval, which involves a lot of the wetland and stormwater drainage and septic issues, and a homeowners association documentation, because there will be a homeowners association associated with the project. And so that's really a key. Then another step is providing construction documents, plans, and eventually evidence of construction financing. So those are kind of major steps that are in the future, and we'll just continue to monitor that. Any other thoughts from anybody else?
I'm going to suggest that in terms of, sort of developing a new policy for vetting potential developers, that we defer that to the strategic planning meeting, because then we'd have more time to discuss it than we would at this meeting, and the other commissioners presumably would be there. So.
That's a good point, and the strategic planning session is next meeting,
Yeah.
before our next meeting,
Yeah.
so let's all make an effort to be there for that, because this is a key issue.
Yeah.
Commissioner Sullivan.
Yes, I just want to thank you for continuing to review the situation, and also with your legal counsel and the developer. And I appreciate that decisions are being made that are well-informed and really protect the interests of the HRA as well as the county. So thank you for that.
That's how we see what the Finance Committee's mission was to delve into these things, and the larger board's issue is the vetting policy and producing that, so we'll continue to work on that. Anything else from anyone?
No, I agree. We should add it to our retreat.
We will. Well, that's all I have on that issue for the time being. Just stay tuned. We'll keep people informed.
Yeah.
Other business, the director's report.
Okay. Well, I'll make that point, the first point short, since we're going to leave it to the strategic plan. But, in this happening with Temperance Trail and the public being aware of what's going on, I think that we all will do better as an organization to have some sort of an application process that has a paper trail where we can confer on what the requests are going forward, but we can also vet our future developers in the next 500 or so housing units that we still need here for Cook County. And so I had a small outline of ideas. I did reach out to a couple of different HRAs in our region, northeastern Minnesota, for some ideas on what they have for applications. And so I will come armed with more information than you'll ever know from the strategic plan about that. But I do have a good idea for where we need to go, and I think we do need to go there to have that transparency, and that we can do some more vetting and follow that through the process. This particular developer has been a long-term conversation of the developer. We've extended our contract with him for a couple of years now, and so it'll be nice to see some development. I know the folks on the west end are really interested in having this project go, whether it be with or without that particular developer. We're still having this conversation, but I think at the end of the day, we still have to do things. We have to be nimble. We have to change our ways when they're needing to be changed. And I think we're about 4.5 years old now, so we're developing new problems, and we have to develop new strategies for those new problems. And so here we are. I think that is a way for us to look at it as well, And so that's the first point I wanted to point out. The second one, Gunflint View update. I drove by the Gunflint View just the other day, and it said 23 units available. So that means 28 new tenants, particularly tenants, but also maybe some families are in Cook County. Maybe some people moved out of some of the homes that they have in the community and allow new families to move into them as well. So that's, I think, what we wanted, and we're starting to see that.
Don't you have a personal stake in that?
Yes, I'm still looking. I'm searching underneath rocks and logs for a good house for my family and I to move to. So yes, but I just wanted to keep you updated on the numbers, and the numbers look like they are doing well. At 5:15 tonight, the Planning and Zoning Committee is having, in the city of Grand Marais, is having another hearing on Yorkburg and the 2.0 project. We met as a community on the 14th of May, and it was decided not to take action, to allow for another week for the developer to meet with the administrator, for us to kind of scope out the project a little bit more. And so that meeting is happening at 5:15 tonight. If you're interested in coming, I'll be there as well, as long as this meeting doesn't go till 5:15. The next one, the Heights groundbreaking, that's coming up on June 3rd. Invitations have been sent. Most of you have replied to those invitations, so I appreciate that. If you haven't, boy, we're gonna start making calls, and so you might want to send your invitation RSVPs here soon. And it's, like I said earlier, you know, I was at the site today. I'm kind of monitoring the project. I was really excited a couple weeks ago to see an excavator show up on site, and I was really excited to see a sign that used to be in my office that's now out and open for everybody to see, that that project is partially funded by IRRR funds. So thank you, IRRR, for that. And we're getting a lot of RSVPs, and it's exciting for the community to see another project pop up. So that's my update on the groundbreaking there. Strategic planning, June 18th rather, at 11 o'clock here in this meeting room here. And then Mary Somnus is going to be our facilitator for that discussion. As I said, I'll bring some information. If you do have a request for any information from me beforehand about any issues dealing with the strategic plan, please send me those emails. I'm happy to dive in and get any information you need, because I just want you to be armed with the best knowledge that we have to create the best strategic plan for Cook County and Grand Marais well into the future. And that is it for my business for the director's report. In your packets, I apologize, the first rendition didn't have it, but the financials are included. And so I know that Commissioner O'Brien isn't here, but
I think it's pretty modest.
Yeah.
Difference in financial position was some expenditures for pretty routine items and nothing major coming in or out.
Right.
Other than that. So I'll consider that the financial report.
Okay.
But I would actually ask also, as you develop some ideas or you hear from other HRAs or other entities of any kind about vetting process, the earlier we could get that before the strategic meeting, strategic plan meeting, the better, to give us time to digest it and give it some thought, so we get to that meeting pretty well ready to go and discuss.
Okay.
Commissioner Gamble?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just with regard to the strategic planning meeting, if the board has identified its intent, and so strategic planning being such an umbrella, but specific to this organization. So in identifying on the front end, what is it we hope to end up with when we walk away from that concentrated time, that would be good. And some of the materials and things you're collecting, the vetting, and some of these other things that are structural things for the organization, certainly if those are identified, both Mary and the board would have expectations that we're focusing on as you go through that process. So, and to the extent that that's been done and I'm not aware, I'm just encouraging. It's a great opportunity, so the more that you can define expectation, the better.
Thank you.
Yeah, in with that too, my hope is that I will have a working draft for the board to look at a week before our strategic plan. So if something's missing, boy, let me know right away. But I've gotten 3 or 4 different HRA applications from the regional folks, and so I think we can come up with some good things out of that for us to consider before that. And I think when we talk about a strategic planning meeting, I just wanted to make everybody refresh everybody's memory that we had talked last month, I believe it was, about assisted living, and that was kind of tabled for strategic planning as well. And so if there's any questions, I've been meeting with some folks in the community. I've continued to meet with folks in the community at the board's request. And if you have any information that you need from me, let me know. I've been collecting quite a lot of information on that topic as well, which I will also bring in and send it a week before in the packet. Stuff from the Arrowhead Agency on Aging, dealing with our populations and what they look like in our community, what the trends are in the future, to talking to some of the folks in the area about this issue and how they can become stakeholders too. So just to refresh everybody's memory that will be coming back to us on the 18th as well.
Thanks for that refresher. Other topics? Anyone, commissioners, have another topic to put on the table?
Just my continuing effort to recruit businesses to have a service fee set aside to benefit the HRA. Nothing really to report. Both Claire Stoddard and I have been super busy, and as is everybody else right now, so not good timing to go out and talk to businesses, but hopefully in June we'll get out and start trying to recruit some businesses for that program. And then one thing I wanted to remind, Jason said that he was working with Hamilton Habitat about getting them qualified for the tax deduction set aside, where you can donate, you make a donation to a qualified project and you can deduct 85% from your state taxes of the donation. And I just want to make sure that in the transition, the ball doesn't get dropped on that. So I don't know where it stands, but just asking you to make sure to stay on top of that. For that, and actually HRAs are eligible for that money as well. And then to see what it takes so we know ahead of time what projects might qualify for that.
I think the State Housing Finance Agency is the administrating entity, and they could guide us on how to deal. You know, I think it's been difficult for smaller organizations, is what I've heard, to get qualified.
They've changed their criteria though, so it's easier, I think, now.
Good, because that's needed.
Initially, Jason had dismissed it because it was too unworkable, but then they changed the criteria to make it more, because nobody was taking advantage of it because it was too unworkable, so they've made it easier, and we should be on top of that.
So I still think there's a couple of tweaks that could be made, and I think that in speaking with our state representative and state senator, it sounds like they're interested in helping us to do that. I think at the end of the day, we want to make sure the money goes where we want it to go, which is to the community, right? And not Minneapolis to St. Paul or Otsego or any of those other communities.
You can designate specific projects, but when you go on the website, the criteria aren't clear.
Well, it's interesting too, because at some point they announced this year that they were done giving out money, and obviously we weren't ever part of that project or asked for that, but that also probably means that nobody from this community was designated or earmarking, so we'll have to work to get the word out, and think in the next year or two, but we're gonna have to think more creatively for funding, at least in the short term, and that definitely is a way. I've been thinking about how to make that thing really work well for us. And, stay tuned.
There's a lot of capacity for philanthropy in Cook County, for a small county, so it behooves us to take advantage of that.
Yeah.
Well, let's keep the momentum going.
Absolutely. I agree.
We need it. Any commissioner items? Hearing none. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Okay.
I'll second.
Good.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion on that? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We're adjourned.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah, no problem.
That was fast.
Yeah.
Woo! Half hour.